Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of From the District with State Senator Suzanne Weber, joined as always with our illustrious State Senator. Suzanne, how are you?
I'm really good. The sun is shining today, and you know that I operate much better when the sun is shining than when it's raining.
Yes. One of the best things about being in the Senate as opposed to the House is the number of windows
Exactly.
in your office. So
Yes.
that is wonderful. Well,
and we've been over halfway. We are over halfway in the short session.
Yes, as when people see this, we're recording this on a Saturday, Saturday the 24th. But tomorrow, as of tomorrow, the 25th, there is only 2 weeks left. It could be shorter. Sometimes, if things get wrapped up early, you could reach sine die, which is the end of the session, early. But you constitutionally must be done by March 10th. So that you're going to be done that one day, one way or another. On March 10th.
And the other thing is they are predicting possible snow tomorrow here.
Yeah, gosh.
Do you have snow?
No, do not have snow.
Okay, well, it should be interesting to see if it actually materializes, because we had time off for the ice storm.
Right.
I'm curious as to seeing whether or not we actually get snow, whether it hits the valley, and if once again we have time off for weather.
Well, you're getting. I hope not, to be perfect.
I hope not too.
Because you have a number of bills, and we'll talk about a few of them that are very important that do need to get across the finish line. And if they're delayed because there just isn't enough time, that would be particularly a bummer, especially since most of your bills are little smaller tweak bills that are appropriate to the short session. But before we get into the meat of things here, how are you doing? How was your week?
Well, my week was not quite as busy as the previous weeks, but I'm still seeing 6 to 7, sometimes 8 constituent groups or lobbies a day. We are spending time on the floor. We had one day that was the longest, and it was just about 2 hours. So we had been scheduled to appear on floor on Friday. However, they worked some things around, and we came back in on Thursday afternoon for a very short time and took care of what we needed to take care of. And then everything else was canceled for Friday and the weekend.
Very nice. It is nice to be able to get those little quiet days when you can get them. And it is kind of the middle of it's that middle time. Like you have the Human Services Committee this week has no scheduled meetings.
Right.
Which is often what you see when all of the Senate bills have mostly passed and we haven't gotten any House bills in. So if a bill starts in the Senate, it goes through the Senate process, then the whole thing starts again in the House. It's how a bill becomes law, sort of Schoolhouse Rock stuff. And then that repeats on the other side. House bills pass and they come to the Senate. And it just seems like we haven't gotten a whole lot of House bills yet.
We haven't. But from what we're seeing as to the readings on the floor, we will have many of them coming.
Yeah. It's just that 1 week. Yeah, it's kind of in between. I think.
And the other thing is, we each only had 2 bills, but that doesn't, preclude any of the committee bills coming over.
I've long said, and this is my soapbox, you could get through this session and actually get everybody's bills done if every committee only got 1 bill.
Yes, and the issue with committee bills oftentimes is that they are quite, they're full of all sorts of things that may seem unrelated. And so there are things in the committee bills, even though they're related to the committee, that may not actually seem like they go together, and there are usually a lot of them. And so they take a lot of effort to work through all of the details in the committee bills.
Right.
And then, we sponsor these bills. So if we truly believe in the effort that the bill is going to produce, then we sponsor it. We say, yes, I think this is a good bill. Well, if it's a committee bill, you don't do that.
Right.
You aren't
Nobody's
a
names on it.
sponsor on a committee bill.
Right. With nobody's names on it. And that's kind of the other thing that I've never liked about that is if it's such a good idea, somebody put their name to it.
Right.
And if it is 3 or 4 people working together on it, fine. 3 or
Yes.
4 people put your name on it. Committee bills I always thought I've never understood why.
Right. Because a lot of the committee bills that come forward are a compilation of things that went through the last long session, but either didn't get heard, or didn't get to a committee, or didn't get passed.
I've also often found that committee bills are actually just committee chair bills. These are bills that the committee chair wants.
Yes.
And he or she says, hey, let's make this a committee bill so it's all of our bills.
Right.
It's really just the chair who's been working for it. And for the most part, I think we're in the education committee where there's committee bills. Chair Dembro has at least brought you in and let you know what he's talking about.
Yes.
But most of the committee bills, quite honestly, are his bills that he
Yes,
just
they are.
name on. So
They are bills that have a special significance to what he aims to achieve in the session.
right. So essentially it just gives him a bunch of extra bills.
Right. And the fact that he's not going to be around for the next one.
Right. Right.
He has some an agenda of what he hopes to victories that he hopes to leave the building with.
Right. Right. Well, one other really cool thing that happened this last week was we found out how much money the Tillamook High School charity drive raised. You want to talk about that? That was really cool. We
Oh,
talked about it on the floor even.
Yes, that was $223,000. Can you imagine? I mean, that's and some sense.
Yeah.
But in thinking about it, they raised over $20,000 a day because charity drive is 10 days, and they still are required to do all of their schoolwork. So that's, always taken into consideration. You have to get everything done. However, I have to say that the work that they did, especially on this um, um, charity drive, was just phenomenal.
Yeah, no kidding.
And what was fun was to see the people that had graduated, in years past that, we've all kept in contact with, seeing how surprised they were, and to see that, the totals that they brought in when they were in that class. One of them said, wow, we made $5,000 and we thought we were doing great.
Yeah, I think we were one of the first class. Now, this is 25 years ago or so, almost. I think we, as a school, brought in. We might have been one of the first ones who cracked the $100,000 mark. So they've doubled it, more than doubled it. That's crazy.
Yes, and we did, have a little bit of a lag there in 96 when we had the floods.
Right.
And then during COVID,
right.
We lost a little ground during COVID, but
right back up.
Exactly.
That's
and
awesome.
The other thing is, one of the things that they do is really great for cleanup, especially for farms, is to bring in scrap metal.
Oh yeah.
And they brought in 237 tons.
Wow.
Of scrap metal.
That wasn't a thing when I was in school. I think it was because the scrap metal prices were like rock bottom.
Yeah.
Back then, but they've clearly gone right back up to where they were before that, and because that's a lot of freaking scrap metal.
Yeah, it is. And, the other thing that used to be really um, great fundraisers were the cake auctions, and they would go to the service organizations. And I remember because I used to make cakes for all of them. And I remember the year that one of my cakes made $1,000.
Yeah,
And what a good deal that was. Well, the Kiwanis cake auction this year, as a total, brought in $8,600, and that's in just about an hour and a half.
I remember I used to be really active in the Rotary Club in Tillamook, and I remember having to miss a meeting that was a cake auction, and I was essentially getting text messages from the people who were there and saying, "Okay, we're bidding for you. Just wanted you to know. See if you want to come get your cake." So
Yeah.
it was dangerous to miss that meeting. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
generally more expensive to miss the meeting than it would be to attend and bid on a cake.
Right.
Well, that's all, and that's wonderful. I mean, that much
Yeah.
money. It's
That's
just,
over $20,000 a day.
and half of it goes to Dornbecker Children's Hospital,
Right.
and then the rest goes to local charities, which
And scholarship.
and
Yeah.
scholarships. Very, very important. So that is awesome. Well, I want to talk about a few bills. I think mostly all good news this go around. One kind of bad news, but with some possible good things happening. But let's start with one of your key bills this year, SB 1556, which is the Highway 30
Highway 30.
bill. Thank you, everyone. We asked you to reach out to the Joint Committee on
Right.
Transportation and
Thank you.
encourage them to vote in favor. It passed unanimously from that committee. So thank you very much. It now goes on to Ways and Means because there is a financial, there's a
Right.
price tag. It's based on what our bill on Highway 6 was when we did the same thing in Highway 6. It's probably about $500,000, around 500,000, 600,000.
Yeah, between $400,000 and $500,000 is
Yeah.
what it will ultimately cost.
Right.
But the upside is also that ODOT has told me that they have several studies relating to it that are already completed. And if those studies are indeed completed, then that will reduce the cost of that.
Excellent. But that does not reduce the need for it to go through Ways and Means, unfortunately.
Right.
So it will go. It's been assigned to Ways and Means. It Ways and Means is it has a bunch of subcommittees. So Ways and Means gets the bill, and then they assign it to a subcommittee based on its content. We can assume this is going to go to the subcommittee on transportation.
Yes. And see, I serve on one of those committees also.
You do.
I serve on the one on education.
Right. So tell us about the process a little bit, just based on, now of course you're in education, but the process is essentially the same.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about how that process works.
Well, the bills are brought to us that are, related to education, and people come in and testify once again as to what it's going to cost and what it's going to do. And then we pass judgment, yes or no. And usually they have got them honed down to the point that when they come to Ways and Means, there's not a lot of extraneous expense. They have things to a point where they know what it's going to cost.
Right.
But they have to give testimony, and the analysis has to be read, and discussions are held, and we don't always agree with everything. The last 2 weeks, what we have been doing in education Ways and Means is listening to reports from the Higher Education Commission and different other agency representatives to say how they are using the money that they have, and if they need additional money.
So when a bill comes to a joint a subcommittee of Ways and Means, you guys vote on it.
Right.
essentially making a recommendation to the
We make a
full,
recommendation.
that it should be funded by the full
Yeah.
Ways and Means Committee.
Yes.
And in which case, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. So once it
Right.
passes, if it passes out of the subcommittee to the full Ways and Means, then the full Ways and Means Committee has to vote on it. And then if it passes, it'll go to
It'll go to the floor to be voted on.
the floor to be voted on. And then, fortunately, because Ways and Means and Transportation are joint committees, you probably will not need to go through the committee system when that bill passes and it goes to the
Right.
House. So it'll probably just go
Right,
to the
because
floor.
the joint committees have people both from the
Right.
Senate and the House on it.
Right. So it'll probably, once it passes the floor in the Senate, God willing, and it gets sent over to the House
Right.
will probably send it right into second reading. And then third reading is when they actually vote. So once it gets to the House, it probably should only take a couple of days.
Right.
It's got to get out of Ways and Means. That
Yes, it
really,
does.
I think Ways and Means is the biggie. Once it's out of Ways and Means, that process should be pretty greased.
Right.
So what I guess I would say to everybody, please be waiting to hear from us. We may need you again.
And well, I guess the other night I was on a special broadcast with the Republican PCPs,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about how we can influence things that we really believe in, and 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 what I said was, look up on OLIS who your committee people are.
Yep.
And if you don't submit testimony on a bill or something, you can always write letters to your committee people and encourage them with the reasons that you have for voting on something.
Especially if the members of those committees are your representatives.
Yes.
Because I know when Katie is going through all of the millions of emails that you get, flagged are your constituents.
Yes.
It's not that all the other Oregonians don't hold sway. It's just that
it's the people in my district that I'm going to listen to their opinion.
Constituents of Senate District 16 go to the top.
Yeah.
And that's the question you always ask when you're kind of iffy on a bill is, how much district testimony do we get? Where are they at? So
yes, and besides that, the Highway 30 bill, we've had some bad accidents on that highway just in the last week or so.
Yeah, and in the last couple of years, have been 4 fatal accidents.
Well, we asked ODOT to send over all of the data on it, and it's pretty compelling as to why we need this to be seriously looked at.
Right. So next steps will be expect to hear from us on how we need you to reach out to the subcommittee that is assigned to, again, probably transportation. You can expect we'll need your help on that, everybody. Yes. Another bill I want to talk to you just about is another one that you're sponsoring, HB 4094, which would allow for the use of Q-bonds for courthouses to be expanded and renovated as opposed to just being built brand new. I think we talked about this last week. Right now, Q-bonds, which are a type of bonds, construction bonds that can be issued by the treasurer, can be used to help build brand new courthouses. It is the law that counties must provide courthouses, offices, jury rooms, things like that.
Yes.
That's law. You got to do it. There are a number of courthouses in the state, which I think Columbia County and Tillamook County, probably right up there in your district, that unfortunately they're not providing adequate space.
They're not.
But they
we don't have additional land to build either.
Yeah, they don't want to build brand new courthouses.
No.
But
because what are you going to do in the interim? Yes.
Well, what are you going to do in the interim? And that's a lot more money because
Yes.
you have it isn't just here's a bunch of bond money, go build a courthouse. It's you got to bring matching dollars for these things. So it's
Yes,
not
you do.
so if you don't need a brand new courthouse, you don't want a brand new courthouse, we don't need to make people build brand new courthouses. So this bill passed out of House Judiciary, also unanimously. So thank you very much, everyone. That'll be on its way over to the House or over to the Senate very soon.
Yeah, coming to the Senate.
Hopefully, those counties who want to keep the courthouses but just need some funds to renovate to provide the legally required services, that'll be coming out. One other bill I want to bring up is one that you have probably got stopped about most often just walking on the street, and that's Senate Bill 1548, which would have, which still may set Oregon to permanent standard time, eliminating daylight savings time. Now, I would just like to say, as a father of 5 small children, they do not care when a clock changes. And when a
Exactly.
clock changes, it screws us up for weeks
Yes.
for
it
no
does.
good reason. So, you sponsored this bill.
Yes, I did.
It failed on the floor.
Yes, it did. And
Then,
there's all kinds of
we'll tell. I think let's.
reasons.
So, and then the sponsor, I think, switched her vote and filed and asked for reconsideration.
Right, she did.
Because it seemed like maybe some of the objections could be fixed.
Yes.
Tell us
So,
why you think the bill failed and what the fix is.
well, the the reason the bill failed is because people were taking into consideration all of the states around us. There's been a bill in Washington. There's been a bill in Idaho, and all of those they would have to be in compliance with us. And we have a lot of people who work and live in Washington that would be affected by 6 months of time change. There's a lot of people over in Eastern Oregon that would be affected up to 2 hours, one way or the other, that would be affected. And so those folks, voted no for those reasons. We're not even going to consider California. But
We never do.
Washington has been considering it. Idaho has been considering it. Nobody's moved on it. We're the only ones who have been active enough in going forward with this. And they don't feel that it's all worked out. Some people think we should stay on standard time. Some people think we should stay on daylight time. There was one person who even weighed in and said, maybe we ought to just change the time by half an hour.
Yeah, that person's a sociopath.
So we're not thinking clearly enough on this yet. And yes, we've been working on this for years. And, there is all kinds of medical reasons why we should just stay with one time system. We have states who have successfully stayed with their standard time.
Arizona has done that.
Yes. And we're always looking to Arizona for inspiration and common sense on a lot of things. This is another time when we could be doing that.
So, one question some folks might be asking is, didn't we already do this? Well, you passed a bill, I think, last year or 2 years ago, that would put Oregon on permanent daylight savings time if the two states, if Washington and California also did that, and if Congress allowed it. when we implemented daylight savings time, the federal law that was passed would require that requires that any state who goes to permanent daylight savings time would have congressional sign off. So
Yes.
you can't just go and do it. However, you can just stay with standard time. Oregon could just pass a bill and say, you know what? We're staying on standard time.
Yes.
That's what Arizona did.
Right.
I can understand concerns, particularly people who have offices on both sides of the river in Washington and Oregon, may have employees on both sides, that you want to make sure that everybody's on the same page there. That I probably understand, and I believe. So the bill was then sent back to Rules, which is one of those committees that have no deadlines.
No deadlines in Rules.
So I believe the intent there is to work those things out.
Yes,
and maybe you create a trigger so that when Washington and Idaho, or even just Washington, because what we had done in daylight savings time is actually carved that one little part of Oregon that is on mountain time.
Yes.
We carved that out, and that wasn't part of the legislation. So maybe that's what they do this time.
Yeah, we've been working on this since 2018.
Right. I hope it happens.
I'm hoping. Like I say, there were 3 people that wanted to know this morning when I was on my early morning walk with Dog Martin why we didn't do it.
Well, I wish they would have figured this out sooner.
Yes.
1, but 2, it's clear they want to get this done. Otherwise, they just would have let the bill die.
Right, and this is a real bipartisan issue.
Yeah.
It's not all Democrats that want this and all Republicans that want that. Everybody that has their own opinion on how they want this to turn out.
Right. Well, TBD. Probably talk about this in an episode going forward. Hopefully next week.
Probably will.
Hopefully
maybe next week we can say that we have a definitive answer to this whole.
We don't have much more time, so probably.
Yes.
All right. Well, there's one project that I want to talk about, and
please let's do that.
One of the cool things that you have done is have really focused on bringing home money, tax dollars that would usually go elsewhere back to Senate District 16. And when you were a state representative, you actually brought, I think, the most money back to HD 32 in history of that district. So I just said it, so it's true.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I am. But there's one project that I think has been done really, really well and has been really innovative and has addressing numerous different needs. And that is Nehalem Bay Health District's project, providing a new health, kind of a whole...
Well, it's a health center and pharmacy is what they want.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that project.
Well, it's in the Nehalem Bay Health District, and what they're doing is they are going to be building a new facility. You know, we always had the Reinhardt Hospital up there, and that was always a busy place. They've gotten a pharmacy up there so that people don't have to travel as far to be able to fill their prescriptions. They have a facility for folks, a care facility. But what they want to do is they want to put it all into one. And then the other thing they want to do, which is really, it's interesting and it makes the program complete, is they want to tear down the old Reinhardt Hospital and they want to establish housing units there. Because, you know, the one thing we have the most problem with on the coast is we can get people to come here and they will love living here. But finding a place to live is extremely hard. And so this, you know, they passed the bond they have the plans, they're ready to go. But what they actually need is some additional money for getting the old hospital torn down and getting that site ready to be able to develop for housing. And in the scope of the whole project, it's very it's minimal, but it's going to require extra money to be able to pull it through. And
This
so
project,
I've been, let me tell you, I have been a salesman for the last 2 weeks for all of the issues that we have gathered from our district to be able to go to Ways and Means and advocate for. And this is the one that I'm hearing the most positive things about.
it really is so all encompassing. You
It
mentioned
is.
the health side of it is got doctors, you've got um, um,
The
uh,
pharmacy. Look at the
pharmacy.
pharmacy.
Yeah,
We are losing pharmacies left and right.
yeah,
Right now, we've only got, we have the pharmacy up there, but we have Safeway and Fred Meyer's here.
yeah, yeah.
Because of, the taxes that have been levied to our pharmacies, they can't make it in business, and so they go out of business. And
Right.
so, other
Well,
than,
another couple of things there are the skilled nursing facility that'll be part of that, which is
right,
huge because those communities are very heavily retirement communities. So that's
yes,
going to be
they
very
are.
important to allow those folks who don't want to spend their last days in Portland. They want to spend at the coast where they've spent their lives, or at least as part of their lives. Another big one is dentist. There's going to be a dental clinic there. To my
Yes,
knowledge, I don't believe between Tillamook and at least Cannon Beach, I don't think there are dentists.
I don't think there is a dentist. No, I don't think, I could be wrong. I don't want to, put it
No, I
in
hear
blood, but
that a lot, and I do not believe there is a dental clinic. I think most people who live in that area either drive to Tillamook or drive to the seaside.
right.
So that is huge. But then, as you said, we have an issue around housing, and this is quite innovative in that the district will actually own the land and develop the housing,
Right.
and they will rent these homes that they build to employees of the district to make sure that they have an affordable place to live.
Yes.
And this is very common, and at least more common in the private sector. And we Republicans, we always say we want the government to run more like a business because housing's so expensive. Housing is either becoming something that is either subsidized by the employer, where it's
Right.
part of your income, and while you're working here, you can live this house for free, or you can, while you're working here, you can live in this house for a reduced rent or something
Right.
like that. And that's what the district wants to do.
Right. And, there is the importance of that care, the care center, the Nehalem Valley Care Center.
Right.
You realize that it's the only one of its kind between Astoria and Newport. We have no other.
Right.
And so that's important to bring that to that area of the coast.
Right. There are some small homes who are like independent who take 4, 5, 6 people.
Right.
But when I was growing up there, we had just in Tillamook, we had Kilch's house, and we had the Tillamook Care Center, which nobody wanted to go to, but it was there. Now they're both gone. I mean, there's
so is the Griffith House. That's
the
gone
Griffin
too.
House as well.
They're all gone.
So that is a major, major problem. So this is just a great project. Big props to Mark Johnson, who is their board chair.
Yes.
He has just been doing a yeoman's job to get this across the finish line. He's been calling out. I mean, he's got relationships from his past life that he has called upon to help him get this done. The guy is just a dog with a bone on this, and it is really impressive. So,
yes, it's going to be wonderful for the area. And I have everything crossed, my fingers, my toes, everything, that this is going to go ahead. I have talked to everyone that I can on Ways and Means to make sure that this project is on the forefront of
Yeah.
what they are deciding.
We tried to get sneaky and sneak it into another bill,
Yes, we did. And it
which
didn't.
to this day I still think we could have done, but the sponsor didn't want to, and so you had to play politics a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how much we really are dedicated to this project. We really want to get this thing done because of how important it is, because of how there's already local buy-in. Like you said, they passed a bond for this, a $10 million bond. And
Right, and you saw that, the buy-in it had from the community. I mean, didn't it have like 70% or something like that in favor of it?
overwhelming support. So it the people want it, and they're putting their money where the mouth is, and so they're putting over 10 million in, and I think the whole entire project is around 16 million.
I think so. And, they did get
$2 million.
$750,000 in federal, state and private grants to
Right.
enhance the project too.
Right. So fingers crossed on that. And certainly you also have a bunch of other amazing projects that you're advocating for.
I do. I
This
have
one-
a whole spreadsheet
Yeah.
because I don't want to leave anybody behind.
But this was just so unique. I wanted to bring this up because it's
so
encompassing.
It is. The thing that I really want to bring forward, though, is we have this housing bill coming up. We have a severe housing shortage, but we can't build anything unless we have the infrastructure, the water and the sewer to support that building.
Right.
And so I have been focusing aggressively on bringing those projects forward. And now I don't know how it's going to all come out in the end, but I want people to know that I have worked very hard in my district to make sure that everyone is very aware of what we need.
At the end of the day, we find out about this the same time everybody else does.
Right.
And it's when the amendment, because there's one bill, usually one, sometimes it's a few, depending on the year. And an amendment comes out to that bill. That bill is a placeholder. An amendment comes out to that bill, which are all the projects that are going to get funded. So when we find out that it's posted, we're scrolling through because it's usually 90 pages long.
Yes.
We're scrolling through
line by line
because they're divided out into a bunch of different places looking for the projects that we've been advocating for. So we don't get any lead time saying, hey, your project's going to get funded. We don't get that. Right. They hold that under lock and key. And it's amazing, a building filled with lobbyists and lawyers, how they keep that from getting gossiped out. It's really amazing. Well, Senator, I think we've covered everything, and my voice is going.
Yes, so you need to take care of yourself.
Yes, I'm out of whiskey.
Oh, no.
I know. I've got like prednisone and albuterol and all that other stuff the doctor gave me, but no whiskey.
I'm so sorry.
It's awful.
Sadly.
All right. I think we're done.
Well,
all right,
have
Senator.
A good week, and we'll talk again next week. And
yep, we got a couple more of these. Remember, when we are no longer in session, we got to go and doing these once a month.
Once a month, yes.
But we're in session for at least another week or two. And then
I'll tell you, there is always speculation on. Oh, I think we're going to finish early. I think we're going to finish by this date. Oh, I think we're going to be all done. I don't think we will.
Never are.
I think we'll go to the last dog is hung.
Yeah. Woof woof. All right. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care of yourself.